Okay, we're back with Volume 3 of River Stories with Capt.Harold DeMarrero. Today he wants to talk about his start the Coast Guard, why he joined, and some of the things he did while he was in there. So take it away, Captain.
Well, I'm just going to. I was working for a company in South Louisiana called B&B Towing. They operated about 12 tugs that ran the intercoastal waterway in across the Gulf of Mexico, and I had been there for a while, and we had a whole bunch of tank barges. That's primarily what we did. We hauled oil, and the Coast Guard used to have to come over and inspect these barges, and so I got to know this Commander Hand, Don Hand, and I kept complaining to him. I said, you know, you guys come over here, inspect these barges, and you really don't know anything about the inland waterway system and the Western Rivers waterway system. And he agreed. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll learn more about that if you'll learn about the Coast Guard. I said, well, fine, send me a book. He said, no. He says, you're a licensed merchant marine officer. Why don't you apply for a commission and get in the Coast Guard Reserve? So I did. I sent in a letter to the Coast Guard a month or so later with a copy of my license, and they received my letter on the 20th of December 1971. So they came back and they says, okay, we've accepted you as a lieutenant junior grade into the Coast Guard Reserve, but you'll have to take a test before you can join. I said, okay, well, where do I have to go to? Well, you have to go to the federal building in New Orleans. So my office was about 70 miles southwest of New Orleans. But I got in the car and I drove there, and I got out and went inside, and the guy says, okay, here's the test. You have 2 hours to complete it. And he says, every answer's counted, so you might as well complete it. Even though you don't think you're right, put an answer down. I said, okay. So I spent the first hour and a half. The first part of it was word association, and the second half was mechanical. And I had about 30 minutes left. And the third part was math, my worst subject. The only subject I got a D in college. But anyway, I sat down and I had 30 minutes left, and I spent about 20 minutes of the 30 minutes on the first two questions, and there was about 100 questions. So I just closed the book, and I just looked at it was, you know, multiple choice, 1 of 4, you know, and I just says B, C, A, D, B, C, A, D. And I went through the whole paper just guessing numbers, you know, like taking a shot on the lottery. And when I got through, he took it in to grade it, and I knew I'd failed it. But you could come back and take it in another 2 months if you failed it. So he came out, and I said, well, I know I failed. He says, no, you didn't fail. I said, you're kidding. I said, what about the math? He said, oh, you scored quite well on the math. You was down a little bit in the others. I says, well, okay. And that's how I got my commission. And I was sworn in to the Coast Guard as a lieutenant junior grade on the 25th of February in 1972. Well, everything was normal. I was assigned to a unit in Baton Rouge, and at that time, the duties of the Coast Guard Reserve were to, we were the port security. In other words, if we had a war, the regular Coast Guard went off to war, and we protected the ports and the shorelines and so forth. So all we did was go down, our training we'd go down to New Orleans and go through these old abandoned wharfs and point out, well, if this wharf was working, this would have to be fixed, and that would have to be fixed, and so forth. So it was pretty boring. But then an unfortunate accident happened in Morgan City, Louisiana. Oh, let's see, the 10th of January, 1973. A barge, a small tow, was coming down the Atchafalaya River in high water, and it was under the control of an operator, a guy that just had what they call an operator's license. I mean, you can run anywhere. You don't have to know where you're going, but you can run anywhere. So he had an operator's license. He held it for one day, and he came down the river with these 5 barges and got all out of shape on the Atchafalaya Highway Bridge, and he straddled the bridge, one of the bridge piers, and broke his 2 lead barges off, and they went on down the river. There's just about, maybe a quarter of a mile below this was a railroad bridge. And the spans on the railroad bridge were very low. It was a lift bridge. In other words, it had a channel span that lifted up and let the barge traffic go through it, and then close back down. Of course, this barge was going down there, and it didn't know where that span was, and it hit one of the alternate spans and knocked it off the pier, and it came to rest on top of the barge. Well, if it wasn't serious enough, the barge, it was a full load of chlorine gas, and it didn't rupture, but they estimated, had it ruptured that night, that over 60,000 people would have died in their sleep in Morgan City. So anyway, the admiral, actually it was my reserve commanding officer, he says, "Man, this is just right for you. Come on over to New Orleans. I want you to meet the admiral." So I went on over, and he said, "Bring your bag." I packed up all my uniforms and so forth, went to New Orleans, went up to the admiral's office, told him who I was, and Captain Mundy, the chief of Merchant Marine Safety, was there. He says, "Okay, you go with me. I want you to tell me what we need to do." Because, I had experience. I'd been under there as operating barges and so forth, and I was with a very well thought of company at the time. So we got over to Morgan City, and the barge was there, lodged under the bridge. It was freezing. It was like, and as a matter of fact, one night it even snowed. It was so cold there. So we took up in the little dock for one of the patrol boats, one of the Coast Guard patrol boats, and we set up an office there. And then we had boats, and this particular area is in Morgan City. The Atchafalaya goes north and south, and the intercoastal waterway crosses just below this bridge going east or west. And there was a lot of barge traffic on both the Atchafalaya and the intercoastal waterway. Plus, just a few miles above Morgan City, you had the Port Island Canal, which was more barge traffic coming in to this area. So we had to place boats at all of these intersections and keep the boats at least 10 miles away in all directions, because this thing could erupt. They had brought us all these air breathing tanks. If it goes, put one of these on, if you're lucky to get it on in time.
Then only 59,999 die.
Right. So anyway, we went up and we got a plan. We had a group of people came in, different people bidding, contractors. And so we agreed to make a contract and see who was going to offer the best deal. Well, one outfit, he said, "I can get it out of there for $10,000. I said, "Why are you going to do it? Just somebody get a boat on there and just pull it out. Let the bridge fall off into the river." And so we didn't accept that. We accepted a bid was about $140,000, which was a lot of money back then, and that considered two barges and with cables hooked to it, another lift below there to lift the bridge up and pull the barge out. And
Okay, Captain, we're running short on time here, so we'll pick this up in Volume 4, finish this story.
All right.
Thank you very much, and I hope everybody stay tuned and watch Volume 4. Thank you.